Yes, I'll be your poet this evening. I brought poems to read. I'll read some poetry out loud if you like. And if that doesn't go well, I can just read quietly to myself for a little while. Yeah, thank you for having me. And I've got a bunch of different stuff, a lot about, some poems about death, poems about love, poems about, I think there's one poem with a heron in it, some other birds. So I'll just read a selection and we'll see what happens. I think this first one is about love, but now I notice there's some birds too. So it'll just be a bit of a mixed bag. This is called Fall Creek. I was waiting for you all this time. Were you waiting for me? The body fills with its own episodes, its own spirals of doubt, like galaxies. Everything is pulling apart, tearing itself to dust. That's what you said instead of I love you. All this time were you thinking of the reflections of stars in the water, the swallows flying from cliff to cliff above the gorge. You know what I mean, how the body fills with sky and water and air and stars. Now I think about it, I think the stars show up in various poems also, which I don't know, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable to have a lot of stuff about stars. So I put them all together at the front just to embrace it and kind of just go with the whole idea of like this cosmic galaxy kind of thing. There'll be stars in this one too. This is called Hollow. We unbutton the night, star by star, lying here. Is it a vision, the field humming below its low mist? Every traffic light blinking like stalled satellites. What glittering information mutely passes across the flattened arc of the undressed sky to clothe us? This I wrote a long time ago, and usually after a few years I don't like my poems anymore, but this one's lasted, and it's called Tide Line. You brought me to the inland shores, and we lay on the gravel beaches, pale and dry, and waited for the tides to lift the quarry water. Soon heat slipped from the crushed stones. The moon rose and arced over the ochre tamaracks and was gone. Still our skin cracked in the cold. No relief, not even when you turned and put your palm, scabbed, scratched, on my thigh and slid it up my thigh, your rough skin raising goosebumps, and wish aloud for the water to reach this far. Holderness. The nest that held all winter to the oak leaning over the lake, unraveled in a late spring storm, feathered, wrapped round. One of the spilt world galaxies tonguing clefts in the deep night sky above the water. Days later, rowing back from Hubble Island, the splashless oars lift and dip, spinning brief, steep whirlpools. Closer, closer to where we might have stayed for good, and those who might have stayed with us, as if we were built not of twigs and grass, but stone. This is called My Real Self Wanders Elsewhere, Far Away, and Tamara actually had a chance to see this a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know if it's better. I made some changes to it, so you'll have to let me know afterward. The fire burns and does not burn. It is being lit and extinguished in the same long moment. The smoke and the black blister blooming on my fingertip. This room blazes and bites. Remember when I turned from you? I was just then trying to find my way back. I should say, thank you for having this event, and just listening to Emily and seeing Clark's work, I kind of hope I'm holding up my end of the deal. But I also wanted to say it's my son's birthday today, and he turned 9, and he gave me a gift this morning, and it was that it was okay for me to come tonight and read. We'd already had a cake and we had a party, so he's all set with that. But so it really moved me, and I thought I should return the favor. And my gift to him was that he did not have to come here to listen to me. So I think it really works out better. This one is called Daybreak, and it's I started thinking about when I saw that Werner Herzog movie, Fitzcarraldo, where they pull the boat up over the mountain. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but apparently they actually did that during the filming as well, which seemed to be an awfully grueling and awful process. So that's what I was thinking about. Daybreak. Here the sun must be ferried over the mountains like Fitzcarraldo's steamship. Morning hardens, the plaited ropes scorch our palms, scoring them like sheet music. The sound of the trees felled, the groaning cables, the pulleys rooster wail. Resting, we hold up our hands and read the labor of these hours as if from a great distance. What can I tell you about the moment the sun sails off, free of us, on the other side? Every day it is the same machinery. This is called Beast. Leaves scatter, crackling across the yard until pinned by the woodpile or stamped and snapped by the neighbor's black dog loose in the far field again. He moves like the shadow of no dog, digging under the hydrangea, under the gray fence rail, nose mudded and wet, taking the fox path, coyote, every other shade of dog, and howl and squat and tongue. These are the panting days, thick, heavy, wet winds, leaf-ripping end of days, the shadow of no dog at an odd curving angle to the damp smudge of sun. Well, we track the trace of ours back to the dark source. The woodpile breathes in its deep snags. The earth sways under every slobber and stomp. Here's the heron. The heron shows up in the floating bridge. It's stabbing things. And then later on there'll be dead birds. Sorry. I can't really tell what's going on in my own head most of the time. The floating bridge. Blue heron stabs voles in the field. On the smooth round stones by the shore, a painted turtle stretches its ancient thumbs toward the rain. Gray zeros bloom on the water. Imagine a light canoe made of bark and strung with animal gut, tight and light and strong, its ribs holding us within it. This is how we'll cross. These next two come from, or were inspired by Emily Dickinson. I went to see the exhibit of some of, I don't know what to call them, I guess, artifacts and curios and tchotchkes from Emily Dickinson collection at the Morgan Library. And what was amazing there is so many of her things were just so small. You've seen portraits of her, pictures of her, blown up in books or on the internet, but the original is just a tiny little thing, like the size of your thumb. And so much of her there was just small, and it's just amazing to think of how large it's all become to us, representative. So I just was thinking that in this first poem, I took a line from hers as the title. A something overtakes the mind. I want to be small, impossibly small. A lock of auburn hair curled tight, kept, a curio, some deep stone nautilus, sand swung, a fracture, a chamber, a cell. The flicker in a wren's tail, this magic spinning spectral snow, a passing spree in the street lamps glow. And this one is called Herbarium, and in this I was thinking of how flowers were really important to her. She grew many in her garden and sent many to her friends and cut them and pressed them and kept them in a book for herself. And it just struck me the relationship between that and the work that she was doing on her own, how she also sent that to friends and how she also collected it and bound I kept it in bound booklets for herself. So this is herbarium. It moves in heat between her sewn pages marked, stab line thread, red as a pricked finger, the peonies bled rose and white, Cape jasmine pressed secreted star, swear hyacinth, sweet Williams bound. Never open, she says, but speak to me from where you are. By hand, the words, and the bed, and the bulb, and the flower, breathless page. The snowstorm. We took the road into the snow, through the snow, past the frosted horses in the white pasture, past the ruined barn, redeemed by the snow that ruined it, everything redeemed, past the ice-glazed steep driveways and barking dogs, the long clean lines of the pasture and the heavy trees. Such glory on winter days and the threads of smoke from the chimneys over the houses, who could gather them up and dangle us unblinking in the whir of white and cold, that buzzing cold, the ache and the thrill of it. Dangle us swinging out over the pasture, over the emptiness, white and stinging and good, everything redeemed. Where the road curved and was gone, and we too in silence, just the smoke finally, of our breath on the glass, and then not even that. I have no idea where this one came from or really what I'm even talking about. So if you've got ideas afterward, please pull me aside and help me. This is called form, a form
Can you
of
go
possession.
slowly so we can take in each line?
Sure, yeah, glacially slow. You'll be bored by it. Well, maybe you're already bored. Start with body and landscape. Body as landscape. Ask, so where are the trees, the people, the shouting? Car accidents, for example. Only in the pictures, in the body's mind, body of the mind, the flesh and touch and sleep of the body. Saintly body risen and wrapped in wire and tucked under the stones, under the wheels, and the cargo hold held. Now new body embraced by sound, incessant sound, the voices of people, always too many people. Cities of people, landscapes, unbodied voices, rattling after their bodies. World full of such grim wonder, to never cease, to never not be a body, to never not be. Since when can that be enough? Ask, what will hold you if this world all around does not hold you? Where will you be if not your body? If not your body, whose? Answer, this will have to be the body. This then. This, okay? This. So, yeah. And this is the last one in this little first section before I ask Emily to come back up. This is called Death Mask. Since I was a boy, the bearded reflection on the black glass. My smile, an ancient thing, a hydrangea in the graveyard, a lamb covered in lichens, carved into limestone. I swore the dates were done before I was born and checked my birth certificate just to be sure. My mother, puzzled, ringing, standing outside the door. I could hear them hasp the windows, she and my father late at night, speaking of me as if I were not there. I, of course, know better than to say my own dark name aloud, and in my carelessness, summon it. Okay. For a long time, I have been more and more obsessed with passenger pigeons. I remember hearing when I was a kid from my parents about the stories of how they would just darken the sky in the middle of the day. Just flocks of billions of them. And then I forget, I guess it was a couple years ago, maybe it was 2014, it was the 100th anniversary of the very last passenger pigeon dying in a zoo in Cincinnati. So I just couldn't stop thinking, I still can't stop thinking, how did it go from this species with billions and billions and billions of birds down to this last sad bird in the zoo that couldn't even be on its perch anymore because it was too weak to hold on to it. So it was there on the floor in its enclosure, and people apparently would come and just throw sand and pebbles at it because it was boring. This last member of the species sitting there by itself, not moving. So I started writing poems about passenger pigeons and reading about them and thinking about extinction and the environment. And I've worked on just a small collection called this, The Bird Is Gone. And these poems I'll be reading are from that. The first thing I'll read is by Aldo Leopold. He was a conservationist and an author. And he wrote sort of what amounts to a eulogy, not just for the passenger pigeon, but for the whole force of its existence. I believe it's on now a monument in Wisconsin. So I'll read that, and then I'll read some of the poems accompanied by Emily, which this is the world premiere, by the way. It's extremely experimental and risky, and I don't know what's going to happen. We've tried this twice, so we'll just run with it. The pigeon was no mere bird. He was a biological storm. He was the lightning that played between two biotic poles of intolerable intensity, the fat of the land and his own zest for living. Yearly, the feathered tempest roared up, down, and across the continent, sucking up the laden fruits of forest and prairie, burning them in a traveling blast of life. Like any other chain reaction, the pigeon could survive no diminution of its own furious intensity. Once the pigeoners had subtracted from his numbers, and once the settlers had chopped gaps in the continuity of his fuel, his flame guttered out with hardly a sputter, or even a wisp of smoke. Ruin me, 1 billion birds. Unravel your storm right here. The furrows, the fruit, the seed, meteors from a black sun. And more blood, more nets, poles, scattergun. The leftover bodies feed the hogs. I want weather that beats like wings. Then boil the fat squabs for oil. The dark midday sun. Wind wired to bone. The howling in all these bodies. Plummeting, pummeling. Tearing up the roistering sunlight shatters into blades of color. Oyster shell and iris. Such a heavy, heavenly sound come down. These birds. Steam engine, storm. My mother singing in the tall, sharp grass. With a wooden rake, breaking a dozen bright pigeons with every bloody swing. Visitation. The sky fell apart. Leg, beak, wing. The birds rattling when they hit the ground. Guess it's full of acorns. Open the palm of the rector's sky, lay its blessing upon their full breast. Stone red, stunned. Field observation 8. The wind broke hard on the beaches, shaking the meeting house steeple. The dark sky got darker. Funnels along the horizon. One, then another, fingers reaching from the clouds to touch the scrubland. Here and here. We heard it then. We heard it then, the howling of the great mass of pigeons. Pass over through us. And we were cold, and we were afraid. Thank you. It was also grim, but really fun.
So, any questions for Darren and his poetry or the collaboration that you want to ask or comments? Or
It sounded, in the beginning especially, it just sounded like Alfred Hitchcock. Stuff like this. Well, I wasn't thinking specifically of the movie The Birds, but just like the suspense and the death. And so, it sounded really neat.
yeah.
That was a lot of fun. They were really kind of grisly. But sometimes it's really fun to give voice to those kind of
Oh, it's kind of a
sinister
grisly
feelings.
story. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, But we just ran through it twice just before the event tonight, and it's just always fun to try something completely out of left field. I've never done anything like that, so why not?
Yes. Well, it's a little different in Italian. So did you read the poems, Emily, and then kind of come up with the music, or?
Well, I could actually show you what I did, what I'm looking at here. What I did was I had his poetry, and I looked at it, and then I kind of pulled out certain phrases that I thought suggested a sound.
Okay.
And then I pulled out those phrases and described the sound, and then played with like how would I make a sound that would give that feeling of that word, that phrase, or what that poem was kind of evoking for me. And just kept playing around with it so I wouldn't just be like kind of goo here, oh my God, he's a dissonance. So I could kind of like, have a little something to go to, but not like I did the same way every time, but at least it kind of gives me a little bit of a, like a little structure to hold on to it's like a little map, but it's just a sort of a vague map. It's not a very exact map, but it kind of helps.
And for me, it was interesting just because these are fairly short poems, so like working on the pace of it and leaving space for whatever Emily was doing to happen and play out, and knowing when to come back in. It's all, I don't know. It was just an interesting process to go through.
Well, I thought the pacing was amazing.
Yeah.
Just the really, your voice and the pacing of your words interspersed with the music was just, I was just captivated. Mary Jane?
Well, that was my question. You've already sort of answered it in that I wondered in what ways you read differently or regarded the poems differently from this process, even as briefly as you have worked together.
I mean, that's a great question, because I always love to find new ways to work with words, new ways that words work one way on the paper, they work another way in your mind, and then they work another way out loud. And so just even reading through this on my own at home, to me there wasn't as much breathing space in each one. There wasn't as much room in each one. But then after just even going through it once with Emily earlier, clearly there was a need to just to open up the room for things to happen inside. So to find that space within the words and within the lines. And then for me, even altering some of the lines as I read them, because I realized that just sort of in this new structure, I needed to sound a little bit different to kind of connect things better. Once I pause here, then the music begins, then to come back to it, I felt like I needed something a little bit more than what I had even written down. So it was fascinating for me to go through that.
Well, as a
John?
listener, sorry. I felt like having you read just by yourself was one experience, and then having Emily step in and having the timing and the conversation kind of between the two of you with pauses was really interesting.
Honestly, I was joking around earlier, like now I'm ruined for all future readings. I need the drums and the hands with me.
The poem about the bodies made me think of how thoughts and ideas can have complete personalities, but also can be pushed back in almost like a Holocaust way and destroyed.
Someone writing that down, because that's very helpful. Thank you.
I have a similar comment about the first reading versus the second. Your poetry is so rich and dense that I had a hard time taking it all in when you're going as quickly as you're going. And then the second one with all the pauses, I was able to it's more accessible for me to digest it. But I also want to say I really appreciate that you were talking about the passenger pigeons, because it's such an important cautionary tale. And it's grisly and terribly sad, but similar things are happening now, like the cod fishery or the monarch butterflies. I went down to Mexico this past winter to see the overwintering sites, and it's just, it's snowstorms of butterflies and the sounds of their wings. So it really brought a lot of that back to me. So I think it's important work to get people don't think about passenger pigeons, you know, it's,
Right.
you know,
A loss.
it's a terrible loss of the species.
I know, when there's absence like that, how do you even begin to imagine, how do you begin to fill that in? And so that was one of the challenges in just thinking about the project, like, how do you represent that? And how can you make someone understand that? I really feel like the element of sound is an important part of it, because in reading some of the contemporaneous accounts, people were scared. It was frightening for these things to come through your village or over your farm. I mean, they would destroy your crops. They would ruin a grove of oaks. The branches are crashing down into their weight. I read accounts where to be underneath the flock, the air got colder because of the downbeating of their wings. So to try to see it from that perspective too, like in the 1700s or 1800s, it was a frightening, sometimes awful experience. But then also from the perspective of what's happening all around the world now, I think people say, well, that'll never happen again, but that's what everyone thought then. There was no one who believed that the passenger pigeon would ever be depleted, and then it was gone. So
you're kind of like a poet activist.
I never would have thought that
I
before.
just wanted to say something about that. I'm sure you can hear me. I don't need to step to the microphone. Just in that line of thinking, I just wanted to mention that the other work that I do, other than play these kind of solo things on the steel pan, is I have a steel band, a community steel band. Actually, my son over there is in it. He plays the bass steel pan, and there's several other musicians. And I decided to have an activist steel band because actually to try to make a living playing steel band music is just so labor intensive that nobody ever pays you for the amount of work it takes to put together a steel band performance. So I decided, well, I'm not going to try. I'm not going to even try anymore. I'm just going to play for things that I want to play for, that I care about. And what I care about now is the extinction of honeybees, challenges of honeybees and pollinators. So I'm a pollinator activist. That's my other
you
job.
happen to be speaking to two
Yeah.
leading pollinator activists in the
Oh,
States,
perfect.
so.
So I just mentioned that to you because in a couple days, actually tomorrow, no, the day after tomorrow, there's a festival in Hardwick, the Spring Festival, and my steel band is going to be in the parade. Everyone dressed as honeybees, and it's a honeybee float. And every year we do a different tune about bees. And this time it's A Taste of Honey by the Beatles. So it's my arrangement of that tune, A Taste of Honey. And then we're going to be in the parade, so you can come check out the parade. And then actually after the parade, we're going to Abishans, and we're going to play at Abishans and get out. And all the bees are going to go in Abishans and complain about the neonic pesticides that are still on the shelf at Abishans, because they really should be phasing out or banning neonics, because those are the pesticides that are really damaging to bees and other pollinators. So that's
And other chemicals.
Yeah, and other chemicals, but especially the neonics because it's a systemic pesticide. So, yeah, that's the other me is the activist, steel pan player. Yeah.
Question or comment?
This is for Darren. I was really struck by the contrast between your poems and then your lighthearted humor. It worked. It was nice. That concept.
Probably just an defense mechanism.
No, he's really a funny guy. So. Good. All right. Any others?
Very much.
Thank you, Darren and Emily, and all of you for coming this evening.